culture. Everything is permitted.
Welcome to episode 106 of Everything is Permitted here at Wade's Comic Madness. I am your captain and host, Julian Brown, alongside my co-host, the Man of Steel, Matt Reppert, and the Master of Puns, Brittany Tomes. How we doing this fine Sunday?
We're doing.
We're here.
We're doing.
I'm here. I'm queer. My puns will make you shed a tear.
Oh, God.
It's Brittany, bitch.
That was quick. Quick, fun show for you this week. We're going to try and make this a shorter one because we got things to do, people to see, places to be. Mm-hmm. And there wasn't really a whole lot going on this week. So we're just going to get down to it this week. First, we head to a galaxy far, far away as the clones track down a missing, as they call them, Rig. For Captain Rex. And then we'll also break down the new Dune trailer that debuted a couple of weeks ago. And then we'll also very briefly, probably not too briefly, we'll end up ranting about it quite a bit, I bet, about the Disney Plus and Activision-Blizzard lawsuits. A lot going on. So, Brittany's just like, yikes. It's bad. But before we get to all that, Brittany, we have to thank our Eve Veeps.
Eep Beeps! Special thanks to Billy Peets, Heather Reppert, Rob Migliaccio, Michael Cox, Nikki Veazey, Matt Moore, Cabria Wimbush, Rob Carter, Connor McClinton, and Nick Castellano.
Woo woo! Thank you to our awesome EIP VIPs who keep our show going. You guys rock. And also, if you guys want to become an EIP VIP and get early access to this show and all of our other awesome content, head on over to everythingispermitted.com and click on our Patreon tab. It'll take you there, give you all the information, all that fun stuff. And if you can't support us financially, head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. That's it. Done. Simple.
Ding, ding.
We love our fans and our listeners. Let's get into some rants and raves. Who's going first?
I have a rave.
Yay.
So, I'm not on TikTok that much, maybe like once a week at like between midnight and 1 a.m. when I can't sleep. But Olympic TikTok has been very refreshing. I love the athletes like just doing shit in the Olympic Village, just being like, hey, go with me to lunch. Or like, here's some crazy cool stuff they have there. Because I just like seeing, you know, how like environmentally friendly like the Olympic Games are this year. It's really cool. And the fact that they all keep testing out the beds because people are like, they're made of cardboard, they're just going to fall apart. And they're like, nope, they're very sturdy. And they're actually awesome. And they just keep like doing stuff on them like, I'm going to pile drive it.
like power bombs onto the Olympic
jumping up
beds.
and down. Yeah. Because they're just like, oh, they're anti-sex beds. It's like people assumed. They're like, oh, in Japan. And they're like, no, they're pretty sturdy. So I guess if you wanted to do that, it would probably work.
Listen, where there's a will, there's a way. The Olympic Village is notorious for being basically a giant sex den. People are going to make that shit happen.
Dangerous.
It's.
I don't know. They have roommates this time. Be careful.
I think it's like college. The roommate would just find something else to do.
I hate that. Being sexiled.
Or just, it's the Olympics. Get involved.
Or it could be like that one time I went to the bathroom just to like brush my teeth. My roommate thought I left for class and I came back in with my toothbrush and they were just going at it. And I was like, okay. I literally grabbed my book bag and it said, have fun, kids, and closed the door.
Jesus.
You would.
I was like, how do I make this less awkward yet more awkward?
I think you made it more awkward.
And then like 3 days later, I had a different roommate.
Oh, no.
Not because of me. They were just like, I think they were that embarrassed. But I was like, okay, whatever. It happened.
So because of you.
I mean, by...
There were other things. But yeah.
Other things.
Yeah. It was...
Oh, I got lucky.
I just remembered that. Like, it's so fucking funny.
I got lucky my 1 year in college that I lucked out with a solo room because fuck roommates. I just...
Some people do.
It's true. Yes.
Anyway. What?
Anyway, that got raunchy real quick. Matt, rant or rave?
I can't really call it one or the other, but Heather texted me last night while I was at work and she goes, and out of the blue, and she'd give me no indication she was doing this. She goes, oh, I signed up for Game Pass. I just want to see how it is. And I was like, wait, you what? I'm like, why? And she goes, oh yeah, because of this. And then she tells me like, I'm playing this game called like, oh God,
I know where
We
this
Happy
is going.
Few. And she's like, oh, it's like this really dystopian, like Stanley Kubrick game. She goes, why didn't you tell me about this game? I think the indie games are more my style. And I was like, I can't tell you about every single game that's out there. I haven't even played it. So I don't know. I'm curious to see if on my Xbox I will have access to Game Pass because her
she
profile,
has it.
because it's on her profile. So I think I might have to set because we have 2 Xboxes at home, and I might have to set our main Xbox as her home quote unquote Xbox. So then I would get access to Game Pass. So I'll have to test that out before, a little bit later. But
I swear, I thought you were about to say she signed up for Game Pass. She told me about this awesome game she was playing via Game Pass, and I already owned it.
No, man, dude,
that would have
there's-
been that would have
No. She was like, yeah, I just want to try like other different games and stuff like. Even though I own a crap ton, of games. Like there are games I haven't even played yet that I've owned for months, literal plural months, and it's weird. Like actually, I just fired up a game I've owned for like probably the better part of this year. Judgment. It's called. I literally just fired that up yesterday.
Nice
for the first time. So,
well, Matt, your not rant, not rave ties directly into my rant rave.
yeah, I realized that after I mentioned it.
But I kind of was just dicking around on the internet one night.
Aren't we all?
Aren't we all? Such is life.
Some people literally.
During a pandemic, and I was looking up how much I can get for my PS4 Pro. And I was shocked to see, now this is for store credit, but it was still a good price for non-store credit. I could get $200 for my PS4 Pro if I did it for store credit, and it was like $160 cash. I was like, huh. And then like we've been talking about like being able to review more things on the show and like play stuff together, and I just went on Microsoft's website one night and was like, let me like look at the specs. I just wanted to read about the specs of the Series S. And I saw that they had Series S's in stock. This was like at 11:30 p.m. I was like, huh. If I do this and trade in my PS4, I'll basically be getting a Series S for like $100. So I did it. I got
Yay!
Where did you trade it in at?
GameStop.
Okay.
Yep.
GameStop.
Which is a process, by the way. It's like you have to bring this, you have to bring that, you have to bring all these things, and if this doesn't work, you can't trade it in. I'm like, I take care of my shit. Everything's fine. But like Heather, I messaged you if Game Pass was worth it, and you were like, for me, probably because I'm not going to be playing that many games on Xbox. I'm primarily a PS5 player.
You're Xbox curious.
Yeah, so I like that.
Yeah.
So I got Game Pass, and the first thing I downloaded, as you can imagine, was the Master Chief Collection, and I powered through Halo 1, which oh man, listen, I know, and it is literally 20 years old, that at the time that game was revolutionary.
Yeah.
But like some games just don't hold up, and the reason I say that is because just going like backward through a map and just like going like zigzags through the same exact design thing is just not fun for me. And 2 things drove me crazy about Halo. 1, you can't sprint in Halo 1 or 2. You can't aim down sights, which I don't even know if was a thing in 2001 yet. It might have been. I don't remember.
I won't say anything.
Say it.
I think it was a thing in some other games, but like not fully like the zoom, if that's what you're thinking of. But like, yeah, like having a legit like sight and a barrel for sure already existed.
No, sight and barrier. Yeah, no, I'm talking about like zooming in.
Okay, then
yeah.
I don't know for sure. If
and
that
I looked it up because I'm like, am I missing something? Do I have my controller messed up? And I just typed in, can you aim down sights in Halo? And literally the first thing came up was like, there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to in Halo. It just never got coded in.
Yep.
And then
it didn't exist yet.
But then I fired up Halo 2, and holy shit, that game's
Halo
almost
2
20 years old. And holy shit, does that game hold up? Like, that campaign is some of the most fun I've had in a video game, and that game is close to 20 years old as well. So good. So I'm I think 2/3 through Halo 2. Can't wait to play the rest. I tried a game of multi and got absolutely wrecked in Halo 4. But it's fun having an Xbox. It is, and it's. I know you're going to probably harass me to play Destiny with you now, but
I mean, I've seen you online. I messaged you once, and then you haven't even said anything to me other than saying "ha ha" to my
because you said "welcome to the dark side."
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's fun having an Xbox, and it's fun having Halo. And once I get through some single player stuff, maybe I'll finally re-download Destiny. We'll see.
There you go.
Maybe. No promises. But no. Anyway, I'm happy to be playing Halo for the first time in my life. That's not multiplayer, like playing through the campaigns and having an Xbox. So yeah, that's my rant.
It's funny. So I played Halo 1, 2, and 3. I beat all those. I played a little bit of 4. I didn't even touch 5 at all, and I heard it was very
yeah, that's what I heard.
Do you know the last Halo game I played? Reach.
Reach is supposed to be really good. I loved
Reach, but like I was really big into all those games in like high school. I guess it's just because like I went to college, didn't have a system, and then when I finally got one like 2 years ago, it was a PS4.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved those games though.
I bought Halo 5 simply because it was $7 on the Microsoft
Yeah,
store.
they currently are having the big summer game sale. Yeah.
So I was like, well, why not? I mean, I'm going to play through them all anyway. So that is that's my rave. Yay Xbox. Yay new console. And now I have to spend even more money on expandable storage for that and the PS5.
Julian single-handedly stopped the streaming wars. He was like, I own both, bitch.
Did you see Xbox's tweet?
Yeah, that's what I shared. Yeah.
Oh, that was you that shared that.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, that's amazing. They're like, for all you people who were saying that the PS5 is better in our comments, the console that you enjoy to play on is the best console. Like,
exactly.
Stop. The console wars are over. Like,
it's really
stop.
weird.
Like, people need to just stop. I have both. They're both great systems.
And you have the Switch.
That's right. I do have the Switch, which I, to be fair, don't really
I know you
play.
don't play, but your children and wife do.
They've both stopped too. We have 3 Switches in the house, and none of them.
It's because
are being
Animal
played.
Crossing reaches a point where you're just like, I can't
do it anymore.
I'm done. I'm done digging up dinosaur bones.
It's the turnip turnover.
Well,
that's what I call
Cecily's been dying for me to get her like Pokemon Sword, so yeah, I might get her Pokemon Sword.
Nice.
Anyway, that's it for rants and raves. Let's get into the
permitted minute.
Time for the permitted minute, yeah.
Well, the permitted minute. That was not very good.
That was
you
very
went Russian.
I do not understand what you're talking about.
Oh man,
so stereotypical. I feel dirty.
It is the permitted minute, and we are going to go here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Mr. Gaeta, start the clock.
Better Call Saul actor Bob Odenkirk suffered a heart attack on the set of the hit show while filming its 6th season. Odenkirk is recovering and updated fans that he'll be back on set soon.
Head to the night car for a cocktail and give thanks to Mr. Wilford. Snowpiercer has been given an early season 4 renewal ahead of its season 3 premiere.
Think about how many times you rickrolled and then multiply 1 billion views. That happened.
Canada, the last remaining holdout for EB Games, well, no longer. The remaining stores will finally be rebranded GameStop by the end of 2021.
It's the end of an era. David S. Goyer's upcoming Spotify podcast, Batman Unburied, has found its Bruce Wayne in Black Panther's Winston Duke and Alfred in the legendary Jason Isaacs.
If you grew up watching Arthur and don't know the show is still churning out episodes, no one would blame you, but the kids' cartoon ends its run after 25 seasons.
Get over here! Congratulations to the folks at NetherRealm as Mortal Kombat 11 has surpassed 12 million copies sold with 3 seconds left.
Woo!
Woo-hoo.
Nice.
Woo! I stumbled a bit on that first one. That first one was a bit rough.
I went a little too fast at the beginning of Arthur, and I was like, no, you have time. Calm down.
You didn't have that much time.
It's true.
Not as much as you thought you did.
I was like...
Self-destruct will end in not as much time as you think you have.
You're like, Brittany, you have 10 seconds to say 3 pages worth of stuff. And I'm like, let's go.
Let's go. Speaking of 3 pages of stuff, we do have some odds and ends to talk about. Before we get into the deep shit and the bullshit that's going on in the video game industry right now and the movie industry, let's talk about the Ghostbuster trailer that just like randomly dropped on us. I mean, I don't know if it's randomly.
It didn't random. It's just, it's been 2 years since we saw it before.
Oh, that's right.
It's a new trailer, but like we got a teaser like 2 years ago.
That's right. We did.
Then finally we got this.
Listen, if you've been listening to our show, God, we're going 2.5 years, almost 3 years.
Wow, look at
Something
us.
like
Something like that. Yeah.
Crazy times. I love it.
Yep.
You know that we give a lot of movies a bigger chance than maybe some other shows and other news outlets. But what did we think about this trailer? Like, is this Ghostbuster movie something that we need? Go ahead.
I say hell yes. I will watch any Ghostbuster movie. I loved the reboot.
I did too.
Considering
I didn't
it
love
was
that. I
basically
liked
the
it. I
SNL
liked it.
cast and all women.
I did not like the newer one. It was so boring. Heather and I actually stopped watching it. We were so bored by it. there's been a lot of breakdowns about why it didn't work in terms of its humor, the way it was, because the thing.
Kate McKinnon.
So yes, so here's the thing though.
She was the best part.
The original Ghostbusters were tightly written scripts. They didn't really do a whole lot of ad-libbing. Like, I'm sure they did some, but it was like for example, like the scene where they're in the elevator and he goes like, yeah, like start me up, and he turns it on. They both kind of like start sliding against the wall. Like, that's written stuff. They didn't like just ad-lib that, and that's where I feel the new movie was weak. And like, all these women are tremendously funny. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're not funny or anything like that. I just felt that the way the movie was made just didn't work for me. I felt like it could have used a stronger script.
But did you see the third act where all the fun happens? No,
Yeah,
you turned it off.
No, I know exactly what happens. I've seen enough of it to know, like, because they have the whole little fun little action scene with the remix of the Ghostbusters theme, and they're fighting all these things. But someone pointed out that the original Ghostbusters, they're basically schlubby exterminators. That's what they are.
They
I mean,
were
you're
all
not wrong.
genius scientists, though. Like, they legitimately.
Venkman,
I know he's not.
He's basically like a sleazy car
But the other two
salesman
guys
type.
were legit scientists.
Yes.
And then they bring in Winston, who was just like the guy that called in and they're like, we're hiring more people. But still, it's the same dynamic here. You have like literally they all play those roles, and you have the person who's like knows the city smarts. You have the scientist.
No,
It's
and
fine.
once again, as I said,
I enjoyed
if
it a
you
lot.
enjoy it, then I'm happy for you. But to me, the movie just it
Quote
didn't work.
unquote, I'm happy for you.
It's okay.
No, I mean,
No, I'm just bullshitting.
No, I do love certain aspects of it, and the fight scene in the city and everything, like towards the end of the movie, like the last third's better. I will admit the beginning is pretty slow.
I've only seen it once, so I don't remember like details off the top of my head. But Karen and I watched it. We enjoyed it. Is it the best thing that ever has come out? No, but it's fun. Like you said, it's fun.
It's fun, and little girls finally got to dress up for Halloween as
There you go.
Ghostbusters. So that's what I take from it.
I'm torn on this because I don't know. Like the classics
Oh,
are.
the Natalie Imbruglia stance.
I'm already torn.
You know it's a cover.
Is it?
Yeah.
I think you mentioned that before.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know how I feel. I like. I love the original films. They hold a very special place in my heart. The reboot's fine. I really would like Hollywood to get past this trend of like bringing back past franchises and do something new. Make this with the same cast and the same people, but just make it a different movie. Don't attach the Ghostbusters name, because like, listen, they could attach the Ghostbusters name and they could have Ecto-1 in there. But is it Ghostbusters?
It's because it's supposed to be their kids and stuff.
I know.
They could have done something fun with this, because somebody I know suggested this, and it's actually a great idea. Is that because once again in the first movie they made it seem like they're franchising, and so imagine like say it's set in Chicago or something, as they suggested, and said like imagine it's these people like, why don't we just get a Ghostbusters franchise together, and you could have the old cast and be like, yeah, sure, whatever, we don't care, like have a quick little
They'll
thing
be like,
yeah.
we're now establishing ourselves on the West Coast.
And
Yeah, you could do something like that.
I don't want to be that guy who's being a little like ageist, but like I've seen the leaked toys of like Bill Murray with his gray hair, like with the Ecto Pack, and I'm like, do I need geriatric Bill Murray like walking around with a proton pack on his back? Like, I don't really need that.
So here's the thing I will say about Bill Murray. I love Bill Murray. Bill Murray is a funny human being. He seems like a wonderful man and everything. However, and I forget, there was a YouTube channel pointed this out, is that the thing you need to realize about Bill Murray, he is the reason there was never a third Ghostbusters movie.
Yeah.
He was a complete dick about it and everything like that. So basically everybody who's like, oh, Ghostbusters, like, Bill Murray is the reason there was no third movie whatsoever. And it sucks because, unfortunately,
Like Harold Ramis is dead.
yeah, we lost Harold
Yeah.
Ramis, who was a legit, like, great director
And he was
a funny actor.
He helped write the
Yeah.
other
Oh, yeah,
scripts.
and-
That's why they're so good.
Yeah, Harold Ramis has been involved with more of your funny childhood shit than you realize.
Well, and the other thing that would be weird is I'm being like a completely horrible human being here, and I'm sorry, but I have to say this too. Going along with my ageist comments, it's going to look so weird having him next to Dan Aykroyd, who doesn't look a day past 30 because like all the work that he's had done. So you're going to have like these characters who are supposed to be like the same age next to each other, and it's just like, stop. Just stop. Give me something new. Give me something
I
new.
can agree. Like, so I will give this movie a chance because obviously Ghostbusters is a huge part of my childhood. I gave the new, quote unquote, the new Ghostbusters a chance and all that. I didn't care for it, and that's fine. But at the same time, though, I do agree with Julian. Like, do something new with it. Because once again, like, we're going back to the Zool and the Gozer stuff. It's like, because obviously, you know, in the trailer you see
Zool, though.
No, Dana, only Zool.
Like, so you see Zool running around in there, so it's like, yeah, obviously they're gonna hit some of those childhood beats that my interior kid is gonna go wee. But
listen, I'm gonna see this movie, right? Like,
I will
like
see
you
it.
said, it's gonna hit those childhood beats. Like when I hear Ecto One go, I'm gonna get goosebumps because that noise is annoying as hell. But somehow I love.
When I see the trailer, I just say, "Wow, the next season of Stranger Things looks great."
So many people said that.
It's great. I will see it because I love Ghostbusters, and hell, I even played the damn video game. I replayed it again and streamed it.
The game was actually the unofficial third movie to me, so
it made sense too, because they were still talking about franchising.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will see it. Yeah, I'll see it. I'm already hyped to see it. I don't know. I don't have any like. Yeah, I do want Hollywood to create more new original things or to fund those things still, but like, if they're going to spend billions of dollars on another goddamn Ghostbusters movie, I'll fucking go to see it because it's better be good.
Well, listen, how many times have I said that, like, oh man, I'm going to watch this, I'm probably not going to like it, and then like I ended up loving it. You guys know how I felt about like when they were making Lower Decks. I'm like, this is just going to be Rick and Morty, blah, blah, blah. It's like now one of my favorite Star Trek franchises ever. It's freaking amazing. All right, well, obviously we will keep you updated on Ghostbusters. We will see it as a podcast. We will review it. And it'll be fun, and we'll get to see Slimer. I'm excited about Slimer. How can you not be excited about that green fucker? I love him.
It's going to be a slime of a time. I hope they have a slime icy when that comes out. There better be a green one.
I'm with you.
Ecto Cooler fucking
flavored. And you'll be peeing grief for 48 hours.
Yep. Hey.
I don't know if that's healthy, guys. Just putting that out there.
Whenever they have that like dark cherry black one, it'll make you poop.
Yeah,
purple
weird ass
for like
colors.
a week.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
It's bad.
Let's move on to our next odds and end segment here, and then we're going to talk about the Empire. Shit, I'm sorry, I meant Disney. Scarlet Johansson is suing Disney over its simultaneous release of Black Widow in both theaters and Disney Plus Premier Access. Thoughts?
So I actually was talking with some people at work about this, and the general feeling is that she probably had something in her contract that she got gross percentages from the movie theaters. And whether they intentionally did it or not, they got around giving her more money because they did the simultaneous streaming release, which they made buku bucks off of that. So at the end of the day, you know, and the thing I find funny about this, and this is the funny timeline that we live in, is almost no one supports Disney in this.
Nope.
I mean, I like across the board, I have seen people like just, ScarJo, go get him, Scarlet, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, people like, oh, if Disney violated the contract, then they deserve to pay up and all that. So it's kind of funny to me that Disney, and Brittany and I have very strong feelings about Disney. And one of these days we'll still have to do that episode where Brittany and I are just going to shit on Disney, and basically we'll never get invited to a Disney event in any kind of official capacity.
I think that happened a long time ago.
Oh no, but Brittany and I will cement that coffin.
I'll laugh.
Actually, I don't know, man.
If I become a voice actor and I end up being in a Disney project, you guys are gonna laugh your asses off.
Like, for the
I
amount
still
of
like their shit.
Yeah, that's the thing. For the amount of shit we talk on the company, all we talk about on this fucking podcast is their product.
We're like
well, because
10
they have a
out of 10.
monopoly,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
So
It's not our fault. It's not our
like,
fault.
what the hell am I supposed
Hate
to
the company, not the product.
Like, if you came to me and said, Matt, I need you to talk about pop culture, but no Disney properties are alled to be discussed,
We wouldn't
I'd be like,
have 100 episodes.
I'll just go
It'd be
talk
like,
about the wall, I guess.
Star Trek.
Star Trek, Paramount, MGM, Amazon. That's what I got for you.
James Bond. All I could, like, when this happened, immediately all I could hear in my head was, "Ha ha! I'll throw your ass off a cliff again. You're not getting that money." But yeah, she's gonna get that money. And if she doesn't, it'll be a big deal because, like, we know that Disney can afford literally the greatest lawyers in existence. That's why nobody's ever been able to sue them for all the shit they steal all the time, because basically people can't afford to actually follow through in court, and they just drag them on forever. They run out of money. But Scarlett Johansson has money, and she's like, "You owe me more money."
And that's
She's within her rights because it is a contract, and they had all the time in the world to renegotiate with a pandemic, and they didn't. And they did it anyway. So
here's where I'm at with it, right? You know how you hear about people who get in car accidents and or sometimes like there's an insurance claim, and sometimes like you have to like take a friend or something to court for something that happened. it's not because you want to do it. It's because of like going through the motions, right? I have a strong feeling that this lawsuit is like a standard procedure because of a breach of contract. I'm sure this happens a lot more in Hollywood than we know about, but because it's Black Widow, it's Disney and Scarlett Johansson, it's in the news and it's being made into something a lot bigger than it is, which is fine. But I don't actually think it's as big of a deal as I think it is, or as it's being made out to be. But because it's these people, it's being turned into a very major thing.
It's because it's the biggest lawsuit that's been in recent memory against Disney. And people, usually you don't hear about it because they pay off or they settle outside the scenes, or people, once again, can't afford to take them on. So the fact that it's Scarlett Johansson who's like, oh, I have enough money to take on Disney.
Yeah.
They've paid me for 10 years worth of movies.
And we're gonna talk about that. This is Disney's response. There is no merit whatsoever to this filing.
Lol.
Yeah, bullshit. The lawsuit is especially sad and distressing in its callous disregard for the horrific and prolonged global effects of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Please, they've made so much fucking money off this pandemic.
I will say, though, that is a good line on their part, because they're not half wrong, even though they have benefited from it.
Who laid off all their employees? Who's treated them like shit? Who doesn't even pay
I'm not
all their,
disagreeing with you, but it doesn't. I don't disagree with you, but it doesn't stop it from being a good point.
Brittany, I don't think it's a good point.
But it's not at all. It just proves that right away they're appealing to emotion. So right away, when you have to appeal to emotion as a defense, your defense is gone in the court of law.
Also, it's kind of like for them to say like it's callous and disregard how much money has Disney put towards like helping people during the pandemic? Like they've made billions upon
and
billions
they put sad,
of dollars.
distressing, callous. Look at all the and the movies they didn't make people pay for, like Luca and stuff like that. You really think they were giving a lot of that money to the animators? No, they still didn't make shit.
Yeah.
Like
Disney is fully compliant with Ms. Johansson's contract, and furthermore, which is again bullshit because she wouldn't be suing them otherwise.
Yep.
And furthermore, the release of Black Widow on Disney Plus with Premier Access has significantly enhanced her ability to earn additional compensation on top of the $20 million she has received to date.
So that line annoys the shit out of me because like it's basically saying like we gave her the exposure to earn more money is essentially what they're saying.
Yeah.
Like she could go on like Scarlett Johansson doesn't need your exposure to earn more money.
You needed her for the MCU. They got her to join the MCU because they needed more big names at the beginning. So like the fact that they bring up the money that she already has like in bold. I'm sorry, this is somebody who knows they're in fucking trouble and they want to keep throwing shade to be like, look at her. We already paid her money. But what it comes down to is they had a contract before the pandemic, obviously. Before Disney started their streaming shit, or it was really early on into when they started having streaming. They weren't deciding to do this whole thing where people would pay $30 yet. That was shit they decided with Mulan and during the pandemic. So the point is, if you had this contract beforehand and she was like, oh, cool, my movie's coming out, I'm making X amount of like the gross income from the movies. All actors have contracts like that when they're big names and this is their film. When the pandemic happens and they realize they kept pushing it off, and this is a reason why they kept pushing it so far, but when you realize you're finally going to reach the point where we're going to have people pay on our streaming service for that, you know what you're doing. And you know that that actor did not have that clause in their contract or have that option at the time, and you had all the time to renegotiate with her and include that.
Yeah.
And who knows, she might have even brought it up beforehand,
that's
and they were like,
I was
you'll
curious.
be fine.
I'd be curious to see if her essentially legal team or whatever brought it up before releasing and saying, "Hey, we'd like to talk about your streaming."
Well, and
if
the thing
Disney
is,
brushed it off, or if Disney was like, "Oh, don't worry about it."
They did brush it off because Kevin Feige has come out in support of Kevin
Feige's come out in support of Kevin Feige
of Scarlett Johansson by saying that he had asked Disney not to release the movie on Disney Plus. So they knew this was going to be an issue. This is the thing I want to talk about with this. My only issue is that this lawsuit is basically an argument over fuck you money. Like, Scarlett Johansson is rich. Like, rich. She is a Hollywood A-list actor. She's got the money. Do you guys think this is just a little bit short-sighted? Any kind of lawsuit like this,
I don't
where
think
like you're doing it during a time like where thousands have died and some people like don't have the money to even pay rent, and you're arguing over an extra like few million when you have probably hundreds of millions?
If she wasn't arguing with a monopoly about it, I'd be like, sure, maybe. Like, the thing is, it will never affect me personally. I'm not somebody who's going to like cry about it if she doesn't get her money. But I like that she has the power and the influence to point out shit like this, because if this shit keeps going, they're going to get away with more and more, and they already have billions and trillions of fucking insane, you can't even think about money. And if this is her last go at Disney, because, you know, she's done as Black Widow.
Yeah.
That's it. This is her last thing, and they fucked her over, and she's like, nah, this is how it's going. So if she wins this, it's a step for actors. And look, it's already had other people come out of the woodwork, which we're going to talk about.
Yeah, let's talk about that now, because Emma Stone is now considering suing Disney as well over the Cruella release, which actually turned out to be a very good fucking movie.
And you know she only feels good enough to do it because Scarlett Johansson's doing it. Emma Stone is a big actor now, but still, she's nowhere near the amount of recognition and shit that Scarlett Johansson has had. So if she sees someone that big, and if it works out in her favor, she could be like, boom, you fucked up my contract too. This is something I should have been paid for. And that's the thing. They bank on that. They're like, oh, we can get people to pay for, quote, movie tickets on our streaming site, and we don't have to pay the actors for it.
Yeah, no.
Bitches.
Anyway. And that's a good point as well. What do you think?
So this always harkens to I'm gonna step into the world of sports for a moment. Whenever NFL or players or whatever go on strike, when people are like, "Oh, it's millionaires versus billionaires" and such, and people look down upon these athletes and such like that. And I've seen some people say about, as I said, Scarlett has enjoyed quite a bit of support from this, but I've seen those comments about like, "Oh, she's already like a multi-millionaire. She just wants more millions," like blah 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 blah. And as I said, it reminds me very much of like the labor disputes that the NFL has had, or Major League Baseball and such like that, where these players have said like, well, we want, you know, a bigger slice of the pie. You guys make billions, and yes, we get paid very well, but nothing compared to what you guys make. So I will tell people, like, put yourself in some of those positions of, like, imagine that you're seeing these organizations, and whether it be Disney or an NFL team or whatever, making billions off of basically your back.
Yep, and your likeness.
And your likeness and all that, and they're putting out all this stuff, and you get like a small crumb of that.
Like 0.08% or something.
And yeah, I understand that like most of us in this world will never even come close to the money that Scarlett Johansson has earned in her time, just as Black Widow alone. But at the same time, though, is that, as Brittany said, that when you allow an organization to get away with screwing you over, they're going to go even further. Like eventually they're going to go, because once they realize the boundaries are at a certain point, they'll start pushing them a little bit more and to kind of to screw you over even more. So, and I give respect to Scarlett Johansson, and, you know, if she decides to join the lawsuit, Emma Stone, because once again, like, you sue Disney, you're probably not going to be in anything they ever do ever again.
That I don't know about. I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna listen. We're talking about how they're an evil empire, right? If it's gonna make Disney money, they're not gonna let a lawsuit get in their way. Like, she's probably gonna.
I legitimately think that Disney is not Disney will actually go after people for using Mickey's likeness in schools and stuff like that. They are not. They have a very long memory.
That's why the Walt Disney School is the only one that can use any of the likenesses.
Yeah.
Let's see Cecily starting in 4 weeks there. Yeah.
She'll like the themed classrooms.
She will.
And the fact that Walt Disney did once appear there via helicopter.
We'll see how it goes. We'll see if they end up settling or if it goes to court. We'll see.
Yeah, we shall see.
Indeed.
I will
all
preface
very
saying
good points.
I'm not even a big Scarlett Johansson fan, but I'm just like, I at least support what she's doing here.
No, and I mostly don't disagree with it. I always like I know that they're making billions of dollars as a company, but I'm always like, but y'all have like so much money that you're never ever gonna spend all of. Like,
they literally could throw like $100 million at both Scarlett Johansson and Emma Stone, and it wouldn't even make a dent in their in their bottom line.
That's why they got to do the hush money before the lawsuit, idiots.
Let's spend a few minutes on something that we've been mentioning and talking about, and that is the California lawsuit against Activision and Blizzard. Sexual misconduct all around. Blizzard and Activision, we've already known for years that they are a shit horrible company. There's no denying that. But now it is out there. It's in the open. There have been walkouts. There's talk of unions. I mean, this is just fucking horrible, though, what's happening.
Oh, the fact that they publicly, Activision Blizzard went out and publicly got a union busting firm.
The same firm that was trying to get Amazon employees not to unionize.
Yeah, so All right. I am one of the vice presidents of my local lodge, and I can tell, and I was a president at one point, and I can tell you what a thankless job it is to be in a union, to partially run a union, to make decisions for a union, because so many people in this country, old, young, whatever, do not realize what unions have done for you, because you like your 5-day work week. Unions did that for you. Overtime pay, holiday pay, double time pay if you're working holiday.
Not having children in factories.
Not having children in factories. Like pretty much most of your daily work stuff is because unions basically bled for it in the 20th century. Like go read up on that shit about how these
fire extinguishers and fire exits because people died like for it, literally in flames, like an entire warehouse of people.
So whenever a company actively pushes against these things, that should tell you something about how, like, the fact that they would fight so hard to prevent their workers from unionizing should tell you something about what they're doing, because Bobby Kotick, I always mispronounce his last name, who is the CEO of Activision, is a piece of shit. And if you've ever read about him, like, he is the most, like, I think in a couple of years he has been voted like the worst CEO in the United States. The man is worth billions. He literally, all of these problems that Activision-Blizzard has, he literally could fix them like that, and it wouldn't affect his bottom line whatsoever. And the fact that they are going to spend millions getting this law firm in to crush these people who literally, and I know we've talked about this, like the game industry is terrible in terms of how it treats people, the crunch time, the inhumane conditions and such. The harassment. Like, I mean, and it is a industry-wide thing. Like Ubisoft has like multiple things of sexual assault and all that other shit. It is a terrible fucking industry. And don't get me wrong, I feel massively conflicted. I am a video gamer. I love video games.
We all are, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, I enjoy these things. I mean, this fucking podcast is named after something from Assassin's Creed.
Yep.
Exactly.
So I know we sometimes might sound like hypocrites because we talk about how much we love video games, but I would gladly wait longer for video games or whatever if it meant that these people weren't crushed like this, that they had better working conditions, that they didn't like burn themselves out to the point where
it doesn't make us hypocrites. Because if you talk about all the employees who work for these companies, do you know what they're going to say? We love video games. And they're the ones being treated like shit. They all fucking love games, and they love working on games. And exactly, that is why we play the games. But this shit has to stop. It is unacceptable and fucking ridiculous. And I'm hoping that this shines a light on all the other companies where this is happening. And I'm really hoping that Activision either ends up getting new leadership or maybe even, I don't know, getting bought out. I doubt it.
No, they're too.
People shit on the Me Too movement. They've been shitting on it for a long time, but look what it has fucking done. It started in small pockets, different places, but you have abusers and pedophiles and all these shitty people being ousted out of Hollywood. I mean, not at the rate it needs to, but, you know, it's happening, and it's happening in this industry, too. You have all these female game devs that are finally sharing their stories, realizing it's happened to multiple people, and it's not, oh, that guy just, said one weird thing to me. It's like, no, he has a history of repeatedly doing this to all women he comes into contact to. So, like, there are lists being made of people's names. There are people that are going to be fucking, like, done in the industry. Yeah. And I just tell people that are listening, like, believe people that are victims, like, report things, and, like, just support when people do report things. Because this happened to me in college. I heard one girl in my dorm room, like, the same hallway, felt uncomfortable about a guy who was in the guys' hallway who said certain things to her that made her uncomfortable. The thing is, I'm somebody that everybody comes to talk about stuff because I'm approachable. I noticed a trend that 4 other girls had come up to me and talked to me about stuff this guy was saying.
Yeah.
I got all of them to come together, write down exactly what happened to them, reported it to the Title IX people. Like, this was when I was a freshman in college, like probably the first 3 months I was there. Got them to report it to the university. I wasn't taking any shit. And the people even asked me when I reported it, they were like, wait, so he didn't do any of this to you? And I was like, no, I don't interact with this dude. I was like, but I was the one that realized this is a fucking problem. So he got removed from the honors college, completely removed from the same dorm rooms, was going to be a teacher. And I was like, this dude cannot be around kids if he's acting like this with girls his same age. So R.I.P. to that dude's career, but you got to do it sometimes. They got to learn. So,
I didn't think it was necessary to do a whole segment on this because there's not a ton of information yet. As we learn more about what's happening, as we get more details, I'm sure we're going to talk about it more. But as shitty as it is to have this shit happening to women and devs of both sexes to be treated horribly under these horrible crunch conditions, I think this is a eye-opening and good thing that is happening, and hopefully it just is a shockwave that goes through the entire industry.
I will say this regarding, if you're a gamer listening to this, don't just kind of roll your eyes and be like, I want this to go away because I don't want anything to affect my precious video games. Like, people matter more than video games. Yep. I love, as I've said, I love video games. Everybody here loves video games. I would give up my video game habit, I will call it, if it meant that these people could have better lives and not be treated like this.
Yeah.
I mean, because I think of if it was me or somebody I knew or cared about or whatever in that situation, just being like mistreated and harassed and all that stuff, and it makes me angry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And once again, is that you should not. Video games are a huge part of a lot of people's like personality, what they enjoy, myself included. But once again, is that I know that that human beings matter more. And if you don't think that, you're a shitty human being.
Yeah.
I almost say I hate to tell you that, but I don't.
but think of all the better games that could be made, or the better environments that can make games
Yeah.
when these things are taken out. So regardless, like, obviously in support of everything you say, but even if people think like they don't need to be involved in some way, just think, if these things go through and these horrible people are taking down these positions and more female developers are able to thrive in these fields, like, you'll have more amazing environmental art in your games and things like that if everyone across the board didn't have to deal with crazy crunch, harassment, or anything.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah.
Let's move on from lawsuits and the stuff that you don't want to hear about, even though it is important to talk about, and do our review of episode 14 of Star Wars The Bad Batch, titled War-Mantle. And Matt, we will start with you. Episode 14.
So I like this episode. There were some things I wasn't a huge fan of, like the whole I want this show to establish something. These clones are either obeying unthinking killing machines because of the chips, or they're unique individuals with personalities and such like that, and some of them rebel against the Empire. And that this episode kind of drove me to that thinking, because I was like, wait, why is this dude like just totally different from all the other clones, where he's like, oh yeah, I'm Greg, or whatever his name was, and so on and so forth. Like, where is this coming from only like a small percentage of clones? I don't get that. So, but yeah, I did like the episode, though. I will say that as kind of my initial thoughts.
Yeah.
This episode had everything. A ragtag team of adventurers breaking their friend out of prison. You had gunfights. You had airship fights. You had a gonk droid. You had a little kid who serviced that gonk droid.
Oh, God.
Like, it was just... No, overall, I thought it was, like, a fun episode, and it was almost like what I thought the series would be. Like, it seems like what I had in mind when they said, like, Bad Batch, this is the general premise. So I was like, oh, cool, it's going to be, like, heisty, fighting the Empire, saving other clones that are like you, sort of thing. So for that aspect, I really liked it. I liked the part in the beginning of the episode where Hunter was twirling his knife, and then Omega was like working on the gonk droid, and then she had her little like fixing tool, and she started to like gently try and spin it, but like failed because like kids see you do that stuff, and they're always like, I can do it, and they drop it. I feel like there were a few like different moments where at the beginning I was like, oh, I like these little moments, but the foliage in this episode, the foliage animation was glorious. I love seeing ferns moving. I don't know if it's just because of the amount of The Last of Us I've played, but I love
it's definitely that
have like this physics motion. So like he was running through it and they're like flop, flop, flop. I don't know. It just looked great. It looked beautiful. That being said, it's nice that there are stakes, but also I do feel like largely this show lacked direction. And I'm like, I hope it ends good. Because if not, I might just not watch a season 2.
Yeah.
Sadly. Even though this was a better, solid episode. I was just kind of like, but what?
Right.
Why?
Right.
But where?
So I really enjoyed this episode a lot. It's a huge improvement over what I thought was the worst episode of the season last week. I really liked more than anything that this was like a tribute to A New Hope in such a big way, and we're going to talk about that maybe a little bit more. The music was straight out of the first ever Star Wars movie, which just was awesome. But like any kind of like Prison Break is always fun, and then seeing that the Empire, I feel like the show is starting to establish that they're doing something with the clones, right? Like they're moving
What
these
are these
kids.
TK units?
Like what? Like we know that they're basically, drafting people into becoming stormtroopers. But what's happening to the clones? What's happening to those kids who are being shipped off somewhere? I think we're going to find that out over the next 2 episodes, and I'm really intrigued about that. I liked that not everybody got away all hunky-dory in this episode.
That was fun.
I knew it. Like it was a little bit predictable, but I don't care. As soon as all the ships came in, I was like, someone's not gonna make it, and that's a good thing, because too many times, like honestly, if we go back a few episodes,
by unscathed a lot.
Like Omega should not have escaped both Cad Bane and Fennec, right? Like that shouldn't have happened.
Oh yeah, a wily child,
Yeah.
just like. Meh.
So for Hunter to be left behind, no chance of escape, I think really ups the stakes. I think it's going to make these next 2 episodes, last 2 episodes of the season coming up, really good. The one thing I didn't like was the clone that they rescued.
Oh yeah,
because the voice was different in a really weird way to make him sound like he was maybe like a spy or off, but then there was nothing wrong with him. He just sounded weird. So I'm like, you're a Yui.
I feel like they just needed to have him have a slightly different voice, because if not, he would sound like the rest of the Bad Batch.
Well, yeah, but that's like every episode of the Clone
I know,
Wars.
but like you got to think at some point, D. Bradley Baker is just like running out of voices. Probably not ever, but like you never know.
I can't wait for D. Bradley Baker's Murph in Prodigy.
Murph's gonna be
Murph. But I really enjoyed this episode. I think we've said it every episode that we've watched since coming back. The animation just gets better and better and better and better.
Gorgeous. Whether it's nighttime, daytime, anywhere
the
in
chases
between
with
time.
their ship and the fighters
That was fun.
awesome.
Pew, pew, pew.
Yeah, I really like this episode.
Oh no, we don't have controls. Wait, I'll plug in the gonk droid.
I love the conquer.
I was just like, oh
I
my.
can fix that.
Gonk droids are my favorite droids, so I think the episode just for the fact that there's a gonk droid.
I need to get a
They look
gonk
like
droid
walking
sound effect.
trash cans.
They are walking trash cans. It's literally how they were designed.
No.
I think like Lucas was running out of budget. He's like, we need more droids. I was like, here's a trash can. Let's
Spray
paint
paint.
it.
Put a midget in a trash can. And
Yep.
It's tragic.
I know we've already talked about it a little bit, but how do you guys feel about like one of these episodes finally having stakes? Like Omega does get captured early on in the season, but then they get her right back. Like there's stakes here. We don't know what's going to happen to Hunter.
What if he dies?
He's not.
What if
What
he
if they
gets
turn him bad?
brainwashed? Yeah.
I do one thing that I was kind of stop with the stunning of the stormtroopers.
Dude, for real. I'm
Shoot
with
them.
you.
Shoot them, please. You're done. We're done with this whole like they're our brothers. We like
No, those are straight TK units
like,
now. You can shoot them in the face.
These are
Total kill.
our standard troopers, like which they finally introduced it because they said like they did something, they got upgraded armor or something, that
These
can't-
are space Nazis.
that can't
You
that
can
can't-
shoot them.
They can't stand up against Ewok rocks, but whatever. Yeah. So once again, I had some issues with this episode, but once again, at the end of the day, it was better than what we got the week before, as Julian said.
Yeah. Steaks, Brittany. Do you like them? Cow or
I love
people been left behind?
filet mignon. No, just kidding.
I do like filet mignon.
I like
quite a
that there were kind of stakes, and there is, I guess, with the fact that Hunter's captured, and you're like, ooh, what's gonna happen next? So I guess it's like leading up to what I hope will be a strong finale.
It's probably a 2-part episode coming.
Yeah, I feel like it will be. It's gonna be real cliffhangery. But for a show that's largely for kids and didn't have much direction, like, at least I'm fine with the stakes in this episode and what they kind of did, especially at the end. Like, I was happy when I was like, oh, finally someone in the group is like, oh no, what's gonna happen next?
Yeah.
So Hunter being captured was just kind of like, nice, we got something.
Yeah.
I would like to say this: if you are a maker of children's entertainment, traumatizing children creates those treasured memories.
Yeah, it's true.
Because like 80s animated movies, Secret of Nim, and or even not even animated, just 80s
Last
movies in general.
Unicorn, Secret of Nim.
Secret of
They all will
Nim,
mess you up.
Never-Ending Story, like people's
Labyrinth
like treasure.
scared me as a child.
People's treasured memories come from shit that completely wrecked them as a kid. So stop going namby-pamby on the violence and stuff. Like, I mean, obviously you don't need gore everywhere, but don't.
Says you.
Yeah. Stormtroopers intestines coming up.
I need disembodiment, baby.
I think
my
the people
God.
working on the show had direction of like what was the show is supposed to be about, and they've probably done the best they can. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
I agree
writers
with
and animators, they do what they can within the realms that they have. So any animation is good. I'll watch anything.
Indeed.
I'll just enjoy some more than others, and that's fine.
With Hunter being captured at the end of this episode, let's talk some predictions. Where do we see episodes 15 and 16 going? What's going to happen? Is it going to be strictly getting Hunter? Or are we going to get more revelations about where they're sending the clones that are no longer going to be used? What's going on to end the series? End the first season.
It's going to
I
be
should say.
both, because they're going to be like, oh, let's go save Hunter, and then they're going to find out he's been shipped somewhere, and they're like, oh no, what's happening to the unused clones?
I don't think, part of me doesn't think they're going to go the dark route of like these clones are just going to be getting killed en masse. Like that would be way too dark for
That
the
would
show.
be incredible.
That, don't get me wrong,
Oh,
it would
probably
be
not.
like a holy shit
There's
moment.
more subtle ways to teach about genocide.
Of course, but I part of me
By killing all the younglings.
given the oh god. You guys just made
And
me
not
think.
just the men.
You guys just made me
But the
think of.
women?
You guys just made me think of the meme where Rey is holding that Sith dagger, and she's like, "This thing is evil." It's like, "Yep." She's holding the Child Killer 3000.
Yep.
Meanwhile,
Yep. It's a good meme. It's an old one, but it checks out.
oh god. Yeah, part of me doesn't think that the show is going to go that dark, because imagine for a moment that you see, or at least they very heavily indicate that basically a stormtrooper holocaust is going on, that these cloned stormtroopers are just getting like, oh yeah, guys, we're going to send you on a mission. Just go ahead and get in this ship. And then they just open them up into space or something like that.
I'm gonna predict
feed them to a
that
Sarlacc.
is indeed the Empire's plan, but to show it on this series for kids, I don't think it'll happen. I think somehow the Bad Batch will save them, or they'll just like go softly into the night somewhere else that we'll see off screen. But I do think that is the Empire's intention.
I don't know, because technically the clones still do their job. There hasn't been this mass rebellion of clones where you.
But
think
there
they
have
would be-
been rebellions.
Yeah, but then they have random people from all over the galaxy. You think
True.
these people wouldn't versus like somebody who was literally raised from birth to be a warrior and is preconditioned to follow orders and has a chip in their head that will make them follow an
See
order.
Finn. He's like, nope.
Oh god.
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know. You think? I mean, we know the Empire eventually loses, so like, things can't always be perfect.
Spoilers, Brittany.
You know
Wait,
what?
they do?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
It'll be a Hunter Rescue 2-part, I feel.
And maybe rescuing Crosshair in the process, because we've all been thinking that might happen. I don't want to see it happen. I want him to be the bad guy.
Crosshair.
He's a bad
you could rejoin the
guy.
Bad Batch, Crosshair. You know, after
Just
all the
shoots
murder and
Omega
such.
in the face.
Oh my god! Could you imagine?
Oh,
Hunter, everything's going dark.
Brittany's face. I wish everyone could see it right now.
It's like a true.
Not my Omega.
Not in the chest.
Hide behind the gonk droid.
Oh God, not gonky.
Let's rate episode 14 out of, because this was a cool little cameo. There were some more Republic Commandos in this game from the old Xbox.
Yes, it was kind of
So
neat to see that.
That, if I could find it on the game store, I might have to buy to play for old times, because I never played that because it was an Xbox exclusive.
Well,
Thanks.
I think they do sell it. I believe so.
There you go.
Go buy it.
Rating out of 5 Republic Commandos. Brittany.
4 out of 5, just like the members of the Bad Batch left.
Ooh, cold.
I was also going to say 4 out of 5.
Yeah, 4's all around. 4 out of 5. Good episode. Good episode. Much better than last week's bullshit. Fuck that episode.
That was after we watched a really horrible movie too. So you
It
were just like, this isn't
was.
helping.
Before we get into our next segment, I have to say that I'm a little bit, I've said this about myself twice on this podcast, a little horrible human being. I on everything that we posted about that movie last week, I miswrote the name of the movie. I thought it was just called The Man Who Killed Hitler and Bigfoot.
Nope, it's then the Bigfoot.
And then Bigfoot. And I'm like,
No, it's and then the Bigfoot.
and then the
Yeah.
Bigfoot.
Yep.
And I'm just like, this movie was so bad, I don't care enough to even change it.
You're like, I can't even get the title right.
No.
I'm done.
No. Which is like lame because it's still like way too many words for a movie
It
title.
really is.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Let's break down
Birds of Prey.
Birds of
And the
Prey.
fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. See, we can say that because it was still fun.
It was good. It was a good movie.
It was a good movie.
Let's break down a movie that only has one word in its title and that we're all looking forward to, and that is Dune, due out October 22nd. We are going to break down this trailer, trailer number 2, and as always, Screen Rants got me covered. Scrants. And we will start right at the top. We see dunes, literal sand dunes, and we get a look at Zendaya playing Cheney, who introduces us to both the world of Dune and what's going on, and as we find out, is in Paul's head.
Paul's head, it's a dream.
I'm
He wakes
actually,
up in Paul's bed on the screen.
Oh my god.
I'm actually. Go ahead.
The woodworking on his bed.
Oh,
Is
it's
that
awesome.
not straight out of the book?
No, it is. It
Yeah.
like there.
I remember that from the first trailer. I was just like, look at that.
What I love about watching the beginning of this trailer and moments through it, as I've been rereading the book, I watched the trailer today again. I'm like, I just read that scene. And I'm
I
like,
get that reference.
I just read that line in the book, and I'm like, oh, it's all coming back to me. I love it. What do we think about Zendaya's look as Cheney? Because I think this is the best depiction of her out of all of the shitty 80s or 70s movie, whenever that thing came out in the sci-fi.
I like that she's
miniseries
not
as
white.
well. Yes.
Thank you. Desert planet. Lots of sun.
I don't think any of the
There's no
Fremen
way.
are white in this movie, which
Thank God.
thank God. Thank God.
Plus, it's like an allegory for colonizers taking over your land and destroying it before you.
Yeah.
As she says, ravaging it.
Yes.
And there's nothing you can do.
So I will say this. I'm not going to guess because I haven't read the books. So
Yep.
That's okay.
I can't really be like, oh, this looks like my vision. I know quite a bit of Dune lore, but I've never read the books.
Yeah.
Lore.
But Zendaya is a good actress. Like, she's got the chops.
No, so the cast of this movie, like, you don't have to sell me on that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm already like, yep, they look great. The costumes look wonderful. Looks like they did a great job with the casting.
Yeah. The next shot we see is of what we might see as Dune tackling colonialism, which they definitely do in the books. This seems to be a Harkonnen vessel hovering over the sands and firing at the Fremen,
Rude.
the sand people. All of these big set pieces have looked fantastic out of this trailer.
At least, like, regardless of how well the film does being accurate to the story or whatever, like, you gotta admit the movie's gonna be fucking gorgeous.
Yes.
The trailer already like, all of them look gorgeous, so.
Yeah.
I digress.
We get our first look, not our first look, but we get another big look at the Harkonnen forces, and we get a look at Dave Bautista, who's playing the Beast Raban, and he's been portrayed in so many different ways, but like this is good, and Dave Bautista
I'm
in this
happy for
role
him.
is perfect. Yeah, he's been through
getting
some
all the
shit.
good roles.
He is getting good roles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
If we still don't know who's playing the Baron's nephew.
Oh, yeah. I don't think
Fade
they've showed
Rotha.
anything yet.
They've been
Yeah.
very hush
Watch it
hush.
be no
Sting?
I was gonna say watch it be Sting
Watch it be
again.
Sting.
That would be terrible. We can't.
Oh my god.
Oh god.
I'll skip that one. So then we see, like you mentioned, Brittany, his headpiece on his bed. This narration is a dream that Paul is having. It's like a prescient dream because he has these capabilities.
He's got the Bene Gesserit juices
Yep.
flowing through his veins.
Have him going. And then we see his conversation with Jason Momoa's Duncan Idaho, who, if you don't know, all the trailers that you'll see and all the marketing that you'll see for this movie is going to be centered around Paul and Cheney and them. What you're not going to find out in this movie, you will in later movies if it does get renewed, is that Duncan Idaho is actually the main hero star of the Dune franchise. But that is a story for another day.
For another film.
His name is Duncan Idaho.
His name is Duncan Idaho.
Okay, then.
Hey, not all the names are
then.
gonna be what you want, but it's still great. I mean, come on, Luke Skywalker, all that Star Wars stuff. Come on.
I know,
Come
but
on.
Duncan Idaho sounds like a WWE wrestler. Oh my God! Here comes Duncan Idaho coming in with a chair.
You're not wrong.
Thank
Coming
you.
in with the Cheney.
Coming in with a Cheney. Duncan and Paul in the series are very, very close. It's like is basically what
His
what he
mentor
can have as like a
friend.
best friend. What do you think about Jason Momoa playing Duncan? Because Duncan has never really been portrayed as someone being like big and burly. He's always been a warrior, but like Jason Momoa is a kind of new take on the character.
It's a different step from previous films,
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, just even how
Yeah.
he's been described by Frank Herbert in the books.
I think it works for the fact that like he's such like a strategist and like someone who would be training him in a way.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm fine with Jason Momoa. I think it's gonna be fun, and I like that he kind of points out. He's just like, "Oh, did you get more strong?" And he's like, "Oh, did I?" And he's like, "No."
No.
I like that dynamic. I'm just like,
Get some meat on those arms.
I was like, he always throws little Momoa-isms in there.
Is he gonna say "my man" to Paul Atreides at some point?
$10 says he does.
Maybe.
I like that Jason Momoa and Dave Bautista are in a movie together.
Yeah.
Like that's exciting. They're also going to be in the second season of that Apple TV show, C, together.
Ooh.
Yeah, which I haven't watched yet.
Okay, then.
Guess we'll have to see it.
Oh.
No, I don't have any Apple stuff. I have too much
Is this
streaming.
is this a soundbite? Is it?
Mother of God.
There it is.
I knew it was gonna be that one.
Mother of Paul.
Do you like that? I guessed
did,
it.
Yes.
Nice. I mean, Mother of Moadib.
So
Yeah.
this is an interesting take because we just talked about that scene saying that Dune will feature humor for better or worse. Dune has never been funny. So
they won't make it into a comedy. There's no.
no,
way.
it's not going to be a comedy.
with,
but
with family genocide? How is that not
but
funny?
do you
You're right.
like that they're going to try and add some lighter moments into an otherwise usually depressing series of books?
Yeah.
You cannot have people go into a movie theater and watch I don't know how long this movie's going to be. Let's say
2.5 hours of
I was
murder
gonna,
porn.
I was going to say 2.5 hours. You can't have people watch a 2.5 hour science fiction Passion of the Christ. You can't just have them sit there and watch suffering and just walk out and be like, that was great. I want more of that.
To you, son. There's no Christ here. Yeah, I think I'm fine with it because, I mean, look, anybody who's in a depressing situation, like, there's always humor. It's how you cope. So, I mean, look at us with the pandemic. Our show has only gotten funnier.
It's true.
So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of stressful situations. They won't undercut, serious moments like, Marvel tends to do or whatever, because thank God this isn't being made by Disney. Or is it? Indirectly?
No,
Okay,
Warner.
thank God. Whew,
Warner.
whew.
I just
Who are
picked-
still not
I
a
was
great
just-
company either.
I was just holding back because I was like, wait, let's go down the line. But yeah, there's room for there to be levity because there has to be interpersonal sort of relations, and you can't just all be flat-faced with everybody you meet or serious or stressed.
Yeah.
Even if you're being chased by a giant worm.
What were we going to say?
No, I was just picturing now. Imagine like famous dramatic scenes being undercut by like Marvel type humor. Like imagine like Luke looking at his aunt and uncle's like charred corpses,
Yep.
and Obi-Wan is just like, well, I guess they're well done now, aren't they?
I guess
Oh,
I
jeez.
guess I'm invited to the barbecue.
We get a shot of a ship landing on the Atreides homeworld of Caladan, which looks beautiful because it's supposed to.
Gorgeous, luscious.
It's gorgeous and lush, and Brittany loves that Ferna.
Flora,
How much
fauna.
waving do the
Fauna, sorry,
Foliage.
fauna.
do the plants do?
Hey,
Yes.
they're gonna wave.
And this has a great voiceover by Oscar Isaac, who's playing the Duke Leto
Duke Leto.
Atreides. Really excited for him. We get a look at Josh Brolin as Gurney Halleck, who is the War Master of House Atreides. A good look at Oscar Isaac as Leto in his full dress attire. And I'm really bad. Stephen McKinley Henderson is playing the Mentat, Thufir Hawat. So
Mentat.
Awesome stuff. This is a scene that I just reread in the books as I'm going through. Gurney and Paul are practicing their combat, and it's all there's so much like with the shields and Dune. And this is straight out of a training session on Caladan before they leave for Arrakis. What do you think about the shield effects and the fighting and all that? Because
I like how they look because they're not that polygonal shit
Yes.
we got in the 80s movie. And I love how some people are just like, oh, they're fighting and they like, I don't understand. They have these knives or whatever. It's like, no, the slower you move, the easier you can go through the shield to kill someone. So it's like harder because the faster you go, it's like dink, it's just gonna reflect. It's so cool.
Yep. Combat's going to be really fun in this movie, and if all the cinematography is anything to go by, I mean, it's going to be...
Love that cinematography.
Cinnamon!
The slower you go, the easier it is. That would be the slowest fight. Like,
That's what makes it intense. If you want to really get it through there, you got to...
He's stabbing so slowly. I can't stop it.
Gonna skip that
get
one.
there. We'll
We're
get
gonna... we do see space folding in the trailer briefly. I didn't even notice that, but it's pretty cool. That's
I see space
Spacing
folding every
Guild.
night before bed.
That's so cool. We see House Atreides arriving on Arrakis for the first time. Paul and Cheney meeting, which is obviously very important. The lady Jessica on it. Now,
Jessica!
I don't remember this.
Hold
this
on.
must be out of a dream sequence, and you can
I
maybe
think
refresh
it
my
might
memory
be.
when she's looking all...
Ooh.
Yeah. I think it says it in the caption.
I think, it probably is a dream sequence because, like, I feel like that thing behind her is going to be moving and she's going to be standing
Yeah.
still and it's going to be like, wow.
Yeah.
I hope it's trippy as hell.
Yep. I like the moment in the trailer between Paul and Duncan when they raise their knives at each other because spoilers in 3, 2, 1. This is probably like that scene in episode 3 when Obi-Wan and Anakin say goodbye to each other,
Yep.
and it's the last time they see each other before they fight them. I think this is the last time that they see each other before Duncan. Now, I said earlier,
Yes.
Duncan is the real star of Dune, but do you mind if I spoil something?
Sure.
Duncan does die in this movie. Well, in the book, they might change that.
What the fuck?
Maybe. Well,
There's cloning in
We'll
Dune
see.
to make a
God.
long
But-
story short.
Oh boy.
I don't want to say stuff because the audience, but they could do... there's
I'm
gonna...
gonna
we know
let me
there's gonna
interrupt
be
you real
death
quick. I would
because-
assume that people who are going to see this movie,
You're
like
right.
Matt has talked about last week, have read this book over and over and over
You
and
never
over and
know.
know
Maybe
everything's gonna happen.
we're winning some people
Well,
over.
that's
and
why
they're
I
like,
did say
gotta
the
see
spoiler
Dune.
alert.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
There's gonna be a lot of death. I will say
Yes.
that. There's death and betrayal. It's dramatic as hell. You're in for a ride. But if certain people aren't gonna die, and that's like a ooh in this version, I might take it, depending on who it is and how. And that's all I'll say.
Well, okay.
Keeping it vague.
We see a shot of Chen Chang as Dr. Wellington Yui, who the book
Yui.
makes the book tells you right away, so this isn't even a spoiler, that
Mm-hmm.
he is the one who is betraying them. This is great casting. He is very
He looks so sneaky.
He looks sneaky and menacing. I think this is a great casting choice. And then also, I think I mentioned this last week or the week before. David Dastmalchian is playing Peter DeVries, the Harkonnen Mentat, who is a squirmy fucker, and he's a squirmy actor. And it's
Dude, the Harkonnens, like, they stress you out,
they do.
but they're good, quote, bad guy antagonists.
They're good
But
in
they're
that
also,
they get the job done and making you want to hate
But man,
them.
are they like a fucked up? They almost look like an incest family.
They-
they're stressful.
Yes. Yep.
They stress me out.
The way that the Baron talks about Fade is so just like,
It's like anyway.
Yeah. What do you
Love
think
to
about?
see him float around.
Do you like this casting? And I know. Yeah.
I don't know who
Matt
the actor is, so I'm
has
gonna
no
say
help
okay.
with this.
No, Matt.
Yeah.
That's how I pictured the character.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
This you might be able to help with because he's a great actor all around. We get a good shot again of Stellan Skarsgård
Oh yes.
as the Baron, the lead baddie.
Have you seen the
this.
figures they've made for this
They're
movie
really
already?
good.
They look really
Yeah.
good. He's like floating in his little thing, and I'm like, oh yeah.
Stellan Skarsgård has always played amazing bad guys.
All the
when he's
Skarsgårds
bad.
are really good.
Yeah. We get to see the invasion of the Arrakis, reactions to the Harkonnen attack. We're gonna skip some of these. Duncan is fighting, I think, during that invasion of House Atreides on Arrakis. And then this moment is great at the end of the trailer because of we know what happens with the Duke and him sharing a moment because he's always kind of stern of being proud of his son no matter what happens. I love Oscar Isaac in this role, and I haven't even seen the movie
He's
yet.
gonna be great.
Yes.
As soon as they said he was cast, I was just like, holy shit, yes.
Yeah. And then
Golden Power Ranger armor.
Golden Power Ranger armor to end the trailer. Paul is leading the Fremen against Harkonnens in this.
Free the people.
Yeah.
We're trying.
And then the shot where he becomes one of the people, Cheney and Paul standing side by side, Paul with his blue eyes.
Blue-eyed Paul.
This trailer did so much for me.
It's gonna be cool. Every trailer has gotten me more and more hyped for the movie, but I still think the best one was when it was that surprise trailer when he stuck his hand in the box and we were both in the movies and I like slapped Matt and I was like, oh, it's Dune, it's Dune. And you're like, it's Dune? I was like, it's Dune. It's great. Here's the mind killer.
Before we go, and Matt, let me get your thoughts on this, having not read the books at all, because this might be, I don't know, maybe detrimental to you, maybe not. What do you think about the movie only being the first half of the book, having never read it before?
It's kind of it can be risky in a way because I don't know how big the first book is.
It's like
It's huge.
Well,
It's like I looked up. It was like 400 pages. Which
depending on which edition you get. Yeah.
Oh, true. We have the
the
nice
hell?
ones.
What?
I was gonna say I have like the.
There's
thick- it
editions
looks
that have
the
like
stamp
dictionaries and maps in them
and appendices, like the Lord of the Rings. It's
Yes.
the same way.
So I looked it up while you guys were talking, and the budget for this movie was like $165 million, and that doesn't include probably marketing and
You have to
everything.
buy a lot of sand.
That is a huge gamble to take because if this movie doesn't do well, you ain't getting that second half of the Dune book, like just because of that. So to me, it's a risk. It'll be see if it was a risk worth taking once the movie comes out. Because it's very risky to make a movie like expecting a sequel. To me, that's something that I've not always been a fan of because but I guess if you're gonna do it with anything, you might as well do it with a property that's as well known as Dune is.
Yeah, I don't think it's as much of a risk when it's a book-based thing because people expect multiple films. So like when the Lord of the Rings, like the trailer for the first movie first came out, like people knew you can't do it all in one movie, so it was going to be multiple movies. And going in and watching Fellowship and then seeing like every time it's those cliffhanger endings, you're always like, when is the next one? So I'm hoping this one has a similar feel. The only films I think that didn't do it that well, other than like some hit or miss Harry Potter ones, were like, The Hobbit didn't need to be 3 movies because it's a small book. But this is the opposite, where like you do have not just like the central book, but like you do have a lot of the other books in the series for Dune that they could do a franchise if they want. But if it ends up only being like a 2-movie thing, or I don't think they would do 3 for it, but unless they did more books. But if it ends up being a 2-movie thing, it could still be good.
So, having seen what the first movie did and the mini series did, I would say that it's a good thing because I think Dune does need to be like the full story needs to be told. And that's as a fan of the book, right? Mm-hmm. Will audiences accept that? Listen, it remains to be seen. I wish that we were talking about this a year ago. I really do. I don't know what this pandemic is going to do to the anticipation for this film. It does worry me. At the same time, I am confident it'll do well. I do think that this will be a 4-movie franchise. So you'll get Dune Part 2, and then Dune Messiah, Children of Dune. And I think that'll be it. I don't think they will go anywhere near the other 3 books.
Return of the Dune.
Yeah.
Because they're not great. Yeah. So
this could be miniseries.
Where I'm at.
I think they wouldn't have gone so hard with the budget on this film, the director, and the cast if they didn't know the material they were working with and have a vision for it. So I will say that. Because I like all of Villeneuve's films. I don't really have any issue with them, and I liked how the sequel to Blade Runner went. So I'm ready.
Yeah, I think what is going to get people who've not read the books into theaters
Zendaya
to see this is
it's Zendaya and Timothy Chalamet. That's getting the young kids in.
Well, it's going to get the young kids in, and as far as nerds, Oscar Isaac and Josh Brolin and Jason Momoa and Dave Bautista are going to get people.
They're like, all these guys from DC and Marvel?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to check it out.
Yep, exactly. So, and I should totally mention her, Jessica, who plays, I can't remember Rebecca Ferguson, who is freaking
from
amazing.
Dr. Sleep.
From Dr. Sleep.
Every time I see her face, I'm like, oh my
goosebumps. We will be seeing this movie so soon. 2 months, 2 more months, 2 more months.
I need to read the book again.
Doing a chapter a night.
Yep.
Just do it.
You're
Just
doing
start.
a chapter a night?
Doing a chapter a
Anyway.
night. Anyway, folks, let me give you up to speed real quick on our plan for the next couple of weeks. This coming weekend will not be a regularly numbered episode. Coming up next week, we will be doing our Suicide Squad review special.
Woo!
Cannot wait. And then we will be taking the week after that off, and then we'll be back the week after to do the final 2 episodes of the Bad Batch. We'll be a week late with that, but we're going to take a week off there.
It'll probably be a 2-parter anyway, so.
Yeah, so there you go. So yeah, that's what we got going on. I want to say thank you for listening. For Matt, for Brittany, I'm Julian. We will see you for the Suicide Squad next week. Have a good night.
You can find Everything is Permitted on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Everything is Permitted is produced by Rob Migliaccio, Nikki Veazey, and Geneva Stein-Shivers. Our executive producers are Michael Cox, Brittany Tomes and the Tomes family, and Julian Brown.